What's up guys, welcome back to DIY with Rye. Today we're going to finish up our table saw workbench by giving it some dust collection, TTrack slots to make a custom table saw fence, as well as provide some dedicated homes to our safety equipment. Now in the last video, I went over my process from design to construction of making this table saw workbench. If you haven't seen that video yet, go do it. Link should be right up over there. Since then, I've gone through and made a couple of adjustments. First off, I secured the table saw down, so now it's secured to the workbench and a part of this whole structure. I extended the miter slots all the way through the back using my router, so that way I have clearance through the back of the saw for pushing through my miter sleds. And I also gave those sleds a dedicated home here in the workbench by notching out a couple of the 2x4s that make up the legs and adding some stoppers so that they have a dedicated home and I can slide them out, use them, and then put them back. Now to finish off the workbench today, what I want to go in and do is add in some TTracks on either side of the saw so that way I can build a custom fence along with adding some dust collection and some other dedicated areas for a lot of the safety equipment. So this is a one and done workbench for using the table saw. To start off though, let's get to the TTrack. Now when it comes to adding the TTrack in, it's going to be very similar to what I did with the miter slot extensions. I'm going to route in a channel for this aluminum TTrack that I picked up from my local wood store to fit in, and then I'll just screw it in. Now one thing I will note is that the screw holes on this TTrack are pretty far apart in their spacing, and since I am working with a rather shallow area, I will have to go in and probably drill out some more screw holes so that way I can securely attach this to the workbench. Now with the TTrack installed into the workbench, we can move on to actually making the fence. To do that, I'm going to take some of the 3/4 inch plywood cutoffs that I have, take two of them, laminate them together, cut them down and everything, so that way I have a good solid base for my fence. All right, now coming back to the back of the workbench, we're gonna focus on adding some dust collection. The way that it's sitting right now is my port is way back in here, and when I'm going to move the table saw bench for any reason, it's really difficult to get back in here to unhook the hose for the dust collection back on the other side of the workbench. To make that easier, what I'm going to do is add in a blast gate to here, so that way I'm not coming around and just using one hose for the entire shop, including all of my tools and the table saw and everything. It'll make things a lot easier and more friendly to use around the workshop. Now the last part of the workbench that I'm focusing on for right now is to create a dedicated area for a lot of the safety equipment and other tools that I use very often around the table saw. For that, my plan is to just take one of these scrap plywood boards and cut it down to fit in this area right here. And then I can go in and add any sort of hooks or other different ways to attach and hang a lot of the push blocks and my zero clearance plate. Basically all of the tools that I need to use around the table saw, I'll have in this area right here. And with that, the table saw workbench is done, for now at least. I think that these improvements are really going to help me with workflow in the shop. Being able to have a larger work surface for the table saw is just going to be great for handling larger sheets of plywood or just larger sheets of wood in general. Having all of my safety equipment right next to me while I'm working is going to be great for workflow as well, so I'm not running all over the shop. And then of course, just having a better dust collection system and improving that is really going to help with keeping things a lot tidier in here as well. Now if you enjoyed the video, be sure to hit like down below, subscribe so you're always up to date on the various projects that I have coming out, and if you have any other tips or tricks on keeping your workshop tidy or just various workshop tips in general for workflow, be sure to leave those down in the comments below. I know I could use them, and we're a community of builders, so be sure to leave those so that way other people can find them too. But I think that'll do it for this one. I'll catch you next time.